All right, here with me today, to my left, Brother Jabril Shabazz, educator from the Mosiah Garvey Institute, located at Parkway in Lauderdale, here in Memphis, Tennessee. And he's going to be talking, we're going to continue our series on the history of Memphis, part 2. And Brother Jabril is going to be talking specifically about the politics of Memphis. And to my right, I have Brother Dr. Talut El-Amin. He's going to be talking specifically about the history of Memphis, E.H. Crump, and the behavior of Memphians, / what makes Memphians what they are and behave the way in which they do. Mm-hmm. But Brother Jabril was saying something interesting earlier. You came in on it. So I want to go to you first and talk to us about what you were just talking to us about.
You know, my particular era during the 40s and 50s. Mm-hmm. I was born in 1944. Mm-hmm. And I remember, you know, young guys, my age group, my peer group, we used to go up and down Poplar Avenue, you know, and we used to go scouting all down through the bayous and the springs and all that stuff, you know. And we used to get in a tunnel. We used to go down like on Poplar and High. We can get in a tunnel. We crawl through the sewer and get in a tunnel, and we can walk all downtown, underneath the town itself, underneath Memphis. We can walk down, come out on the railroad tracks down there behind Goldsmith somewhere and this kind of stuff, you know. And I didn't know all about what was going on at that time, you know, until I had been in the military and come back out. And that's when I found out about Memphis sitting on all those tunnels downtown, you know, and the purpose of it, you know. Who built them? I don't know. I don't quite know the history of who built them and what purpose it was for building them. But when I come back home from the military, I met a guy I worked with, an older man, and he gave me somewhat of the history of, you know, those tunnels. He knew all about it himself, you know, and he was 75 or 80 years old then, you know, and excuse me, he talked about Crump meeting Al Capone down on the foot of Beale Street. Capone used to bring his railroad car in and park it down on the foot of Beale Street. And they might sit there for 3 or 4 days. They meet Crump down there. I guess I don't know what they did. They had orgies or whatever they did, you know, knowing those kind of people, you know, criminal minds, you know, this kind of thing. So, you know, which was legitimate for them, you know, because they was they was the government, and they was the paymasters to politicians and this kind of thing. So, you know, everything they did was legit because they couldn't get arrested for it, you know, because that's the way of the world at that time. And I was just conveying that to Brother Wallace Redd here, you know, concerning that, you know, and it went on into the political thing about, you know, who, you know, that once upon a time, blacks in Memphis and the surrounding area were Republicans, you know, back in the 30s and the 40s. You know, in the 40s, blacks changed their loyalty, you know, because they became Roosevelt Democrats. And the Dixiecrats got anchored. I mean, they got entrenched, you know, because they was determined not to let black people gain any power in the Mid-South area here. And they succeeded to a great extent. Well, when Roosevelt came in, you know, because most of the Republicans then was what we call Lincoln Republicans. You know, they was all in this areas, West Tennessee, East Arkansas, North Mississippi. I mean, they had real means, you know. But after they converted, now a lot of Republicans, you know, so-called leadership people, they never converted back to the Democratic Party. They still became the Lincoln Republicans, you know, and I named a few, you know, off camera, you know, but I remember Lieutenant Lee, you know, he was Republican, you know, Benjamin Brooks was which is this library named after him, was a Republican at the time. But a lot of other, you know, now, Robert Church was a Democrat. You know, if I'm not mistaken. Wait a minute. Robert Church was a Republican.
Okay.
The Crump machine was a Democrat machine. You know, and that's where the power center was, out of City Hall, dealing with Crump. I don't think Crump served as a state representative from this area.
Right.
I don't know how many terms.
Congressman.
2 terms, yes.
Congressman as well.
1 term congressman.
Right.
And 2-time mayor, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
2-time mayor?
Right.
Yeah, 2 times
Right.
mayor in this city. And, but all in the Democratic Party. But black folks didn't become Democrats until Roosevelt.
Okay.
And that's when they changed the loyalty to another party.
Now you were saying that the Republicans and Democrats vacillated from party to party, and they said Ben Hooks received money up until he died. So,
received
many
money,
of these
he received money for campaign contributions and carrying out duties within the structure of the Republican Party. You know,
so there was no principled loyalty. Is
well,
that,
you know,
is that the
I
way
doubt
that,
it.
okay,
You know, I just think that was the way of the politics
okay.
in Memphis.
Okay.
You know.
And you also said that this is what we see even today.
Well, now what we
in
see
politics,
today,
current politics.
the current politics to me is hand-in-hand politics in Memphis.
Okay.
You know, we don't have a power center like we once was back in the Crump day. Everybody knew what the politics was.
Okay.
But now this thing have eluded us. You know, I'm told that 30 rich families in Memphis run Memphis.
Okay.
You know, so if they do, I don't know them all. I can imagine, you know, the millionaires that I do know of have a hand in it. You know, and the politics in black African Memphis is that it's still hand-in-hand politics. Now, what I mean by hand-in-hand politics is that, you know, you go to the boss and you take your hat off and you present whatever it is. And if the boss say he's gonna bag it up, then he'll bag it up. If the boss said, get the hell out of here, we're not dealing with that, then that's what you do.
Okay, let me read something right quick before you enter your analysis, Dr. Talut. It says here, although in the 1934 elections destroyed the last vestiges of opposition to Crump's leadership, another weakness became apparent when the former congressman returned home at the end of the year. In January 1935, Collier's magazine published an article entitled Sinners in Dixie, which surveyed criminal activities in Memphis, Mississippi, and Arkansas. As the biggest city in the Mid-South, Memphis received the most attention. So can we connect that to what we've talked about thus far going forward?
Yeah, when you speak about early politics in Memphis, you're talking about criminal activity, period. Okay, being on the farthest western border of Tennessee and aligned with the Mississippi River on the highest bluff, and the power to be hunters because of the position of the city, create a lot of underworld activities. Okay, it's a survival. Memphis is a survivor. Okay, until the Corps of Engineers dredged the river and prevented a lot of those northern cities north of Memphis from flooding out. Okay, they were basically zeroed out, and again Memphis survived. Okay, but when you talk about early politics in the city of Memphis, the foundation is E.H. Crump. Okay, as we are talking about right now. And E.H. Crump harnessed a tremendous amount of power through Lieutenant Lee. Okay, Lieutenant Lee was the chairman of the Republican Party. Okay, and Lieutenant Lee was that man who was quasi Crump's friend. Okay, he didn't get along with Crump. He didn't like Crump. Okay, and it wasn't until the end of Crump's era that Lieutenant Lee had an opportunity to slap him upside the head politically, so to speak, and he did.
Okay.
Okay, but you have to also understand that W.C. Handy wrote the Memphis Blues for E.H. Crump's re-election.
Yeah.
Okay, so what happened with the Republican Party though is this: as Lieutenant Lee were the chairman, and blacks were mostly Republicans. All blacks were Republicans, basically.
Sure.
But what happened was, and how the parties was taken, there was a board meeting, a meeting of the party in Nashville, Tennessee.
Okay.
Okay, and Lieutenant Lee asked the executive committee members who were black, and there were some whites.
Okay.
He asked the blacks to be there at a certain time. Okay, and when they did not arrive, they arrived 5 minutes late. No, 15 minutes late.
Okay.
They arrived in Nashville, the blacks did, 15 minutes late, and the whites had taken over the party when they arrived.
Okay.
Because they had to vote.
Over the Republican Party.
Yeah, they took over the Republican Party. Okay, because the black executive committee members showed up 15 minutes late. Okay, and that was it. And the blacks were never able to harness power in the Republican Party again.
Now, is there a year on that? What year was?
There's a year, but the year eludes me.
Okay.
Okay, but there's a year, of course. But the thing about Crump's politics is he was intimidating,
Sure.
and he was carnivore.
Yeah.
Carnivore. He had a carnivore
Carnivorous?
approach to carnival.
Carnival.
Entertainment.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Carnival.
Carnivals. Right.
Women in a clown suit.
Right.
Okay.
To black community.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. He would have during election periods he would give out watermelon and beer and stuff like that. You know, for blacks public consumption.
Sure.
And they vote for him. But the intimidating side of it was that he would have the police chief to round up all of the powerful black ministers. And he would have the police chief to bring them downtown to the police department into the basement. And the police chief would stand at the steps, and Crump would come in and say, y'all know what you got to do. And that was it.
Sure.
And the preachers would come out and
Unified.
preach and bring the black community together behind Crump.
Okay.
Okay.
Well,
And that's how Crump was able to harness the power that he had
yeah.
because of intimidation and carnivals.
Sure.
Okay.
Okay.
You know,
That-
another thing, let me add this.
Go ahead.
You know, Crump was brutal.
Brutal.
He was always brutal.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
from what I understand, you know, in my own research, community research, my grassroots level, Crump had hitmen in the community. And I'm told that, you know, I don't want to call no names, you know, because the family still exists, you know. But there was a North Memphis hitman, and there was a South Memphis hitman. Any young black man, or young black man, old black man, didn't matter. If you had an idea about galvanizing power in the community, Crump sent a message to you.
Okay. You send your message.
You send your message. Say, look,
And
we don't want that organizing down there,
okay.
you know, and don't let me have to tell you no more or
Okay.
whatever, you know. And if you continue to organize, then you might come up missing.
Come up missing, right? Well, a couple things that concern me. This late syndrome. African Americans, whatever they were called back then, but for the sake of progress, let's go with African Americans. So, African Americans appear to be one of their, well, let me just say I try to be on time myself, but we appear to be late. In fact, there's a cliche called AST, African Standard Time.
Right.
So, now is this, do we see, a couple of questions here, anybody can take it. We still see this today, Africans, what is that, being late for? To me, that was an important occasion. And it sounds like you said that they were all late. No one was on time, you know, so that seems to be a problem for me even today. And I want to compare then with today. And do we still see, now, and we've seen politicians recently running for political office, whether they were experts in accounting, business, whatever the case may be, running for office, and yet we've seen problems with budgeting, problem with finances and things, public policy not going right.
Yeah.
And is this part and parcel of the problem that we see today?
Yeah.
You take it first, Talut, and then Jabril, you.
Yeah, the problem with the politics today, as it relates to the politics of old, is it's all the same. Nothing has changed, and nothing has changed. And what I'm saying about that is this: that even though you have a county even though you have a city council or a legislative branch of government, and you have the administrative branch of government, the legislative branch of government still looks up to the administrative branch of government for leadership. When they are checks and balances of one another. Okay? So the city council, by giving all the power to the mayor, is doing the same thing they did during the era of E.H. Crump. In other words, today, with the budget crisis and how the money is being squandered out all over the place in Memphis to the rich guys, okay, you still have a city council that wants to work with the mayor. They should be checking the mayor.
Sure.
They should be addressing these concerns about what's actually going on and bringing information back to their constituency. But they don't, because of the Crump mentality. The mayor is running the city. But in a proper governance, the council and the mayor works independently of each other. Okay? And we the people shouldn't trust neither one of them. Neither group. We shouldn't trust council and we shouldn't trust the mayor. We should be always on their asses asking them what is going on, where's the money going, and why.
Okay.
But we don't.
Since you said that, that's interesting. Let me throw this out, Jabril, something else for you to work on. Shouldn't we be sending them a list? Asking them is fine, but shouldn't we send them a list of demands and be organized around that list of demands? These politicians that we're talking about, are we passive,
The reason
lackadaisical, and just sitting back, just voting for them and then sit back, apathetic? Are we apathetic? Just pardon me for a minute. And that's the end of it. Is that why all this stuff is going on? We're not getting anywhere politically, economically, and I'm going to say socially. Go ahead, brother.
Well, Memphis politics is unique in the whole world.
Unique in the world.
The reason I say that
That's pretty unique.
is because it's plantation politics. You got a city council here, they working for the plantation master, and you got a mayor who working for the same plantation master. That's why that thing seems to be, more camaraderie than it is in opposition or even independently structured. We don't have a newspaper that give us anything, neither on either side, black or white. So, but the black political base of politics had never been organized in Memphis, except for one time,
Okay.
in 1990,
1990.
when we put the People's Convention together
Yeah.
and organized ourselves to put in a consensus candidate.
What happened to
That
that
we all-
organization?
It was defunct. It went defunct because the powers that be in the city of Memphis didn't want it.
Okay. Is
And
it
the
true?
mayor that was elected
Right.
didn't want it.
Is it okay? Is it
So-
true that he said it was no longer needed?
Well, it said that particular apparatus was not going to be the litmus test for, that was just a one-time deal. Now, that's what that present mayor that was elected came out and said, that was going to be just a one-time deal. And a lot of the petty bourgeois Negro elites went with that message.
Okay.
Because that's the message that was handed down from the plantation owner.
Mm-hmm.
That we don't want y'all down there, putting no people's convention together. Y'all bypass the Republican Party and the Democratic Party. With that power, y'all can put who y'all want in this office.
Should it have
And you can make
stayed?
some change.
Right. Should it have stayed in existence, like the Tea Party?
Well,
The Tea Party,
if see, it's about power.
Okay.
We just not talking about political parties just for political party's sake.
Okay.
We're talking about how you harness power.
Okay.
That was a power move. Some people that were loyal behind that movement is no longer with us. The people who was a part of that also, they took the payola
Oh.
and got bought off into that one-time idea, But that was a base. If it was continued, then we could elect who in the hell we want to elect.
I'm going to add something to that
Okay.
because what was important about the People's Convention is that it was a coup d'etat.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it just went straight to the people.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Okay, and that's what made it powerful, more powerful than anybody could possibly imagine.
Mm-hmm.
It broke down Harold Ford, made him submit.
Yeah.
It broke
Made
down
them run off.
all of them. It made them all submit. That People's Convention did. Okay, it quaked the Caucasian political structure. Okay, now I was there. In fact, I opened the convention up in prayer. Okay, and I gave the only speech that was given at the convention to rally the people up. Okay, those are the two things that I did at the People's Convention. But let me tell you, the thing about the organizational structure of the People's Convention is that it was a perfect structure.
For Memphis.
For Memphis, it was perfect. In fact, Jackson, Mississippi duplicated it.
No doubt.
Okay, and other people have duplicated it as well
That's
throughout
right.
the country. Because it was a master plan.
Sure.
It was a master
Master
plan.
plan.
It was a master plan, and it was a masterful plan.
Masterful.
Sure.
How did it come into being, existence, and who, other than yourself, were some of the major players?
Well, the
Well,
prototype was Chicago. The prototype was Chicago with Mayor Washington.
Okay.
That's what they did in Chicago.
Okay.
With
Teddy
Mayor
Williams,
Washington.
Okay. Teddy Williams. Who's no
Talut
longer with
Muhammad.
us. I remember him. Who's no longer with us, and that's what you had said a little while
Bill
ago.
Atkins,
Bill Atkins.
Yeah.
Okay.
These was players
I
in
think he
in
vacated
part of
for
that.
some reason.
Well,
Yeah, well, I'm gonna get to that. I
Go
want
ahead.
to get to that.
Go ahead, come on.
But we'll get what the problem was with the People's Convention with Mayor Harrington was one thing. The power that push you in power, the power that inertia you into power,
Got it.
can also get you out of power.
That's true.
And that didn't happen.
So, well,
Go ahead.
the master plan from the Harrington administration was to destroy
Yeah.
that power
That's
that
what I
brought him into power. And that's
what I
happened.
mean. And
Okay.
perhaps
That's just
he
like,
or someone saw that.
surely.
Well,
And
that's-
it, as a result of that, it got destroyed.
But Joseph Hyde and some of the others saw it
Joseph
because they gave Mayor Harrington $250,000
Okay.
as a non-discretionary fund, which basically means that
This your money.
we paying you
Put it in your back pocket.
to do what we want to do. And then when those types of people start advising the mayor with $250,000 to somebody who don't have any money, they should be able to come in your office and tell you what to do. And they
Well,
did.
I heard,
Okay.
I want to just put this on the table. I did hear him on a radio show on one occasion telling African Americans to become apolitical, to get involved in politics.
Yeah, well, let me address that, brother. I'm gonna hold
Then
down.
we're going to go to brother.
Yeah.
Let's do real quick.
After you have failed to acknowledge those black men and women who brought this together, their mind, you discounted their mind, which was a powerful black mind, okay? And after you have done that, then yeah, you can come back to the community and say almost anything.
Right. Okay.
Because you feel as though well, in fact, you have absorbed their power and absorbed the power of the people, so you can come out as a great priest of Uma.
Right. A phony set of words. Brother Jabril, go ahead.
About that whole thing is that it could have been a perfect apparatus. But see, you got Democrat law.
Well, now, we've said that it was a perfect apparatus at that time. Is that right? It was, at that time, a perfect apparatus. Are you saying that it can come back into being and continue to be a perfect apparatus? Okay, he's shaking his head. He's saying no. And you don't think so? Okay.
No.
Okay.
Not based on the criteria that was put into that particular
At that time.
moment.
Okay.
You know.
Okay.
Now,
Well, I don't want to get into that now, but at some point, I think we have to address that issue going forward. So for right now, let's keep it on politics until we transition. Go ahead, brother.
I lost my train of thought, brother.
Well, you
I was getting ready
The
to say that
the apparatus.
that apparatus.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, not going to. It's when you
Perfect.
When you came into,
I apologize. Perfect apparatus. Remember?
what I was going to say is that it worked then, but it probably that particular with the ideas and concepts of what put that together. That was a one-time deal. You know, that could never. I know what I was going to say is that the
Very
people
good.
that's so
Very
loyal
good.
to the Democratic Party will never step out of bounds anymore to accept the People's Convention. People talk about it. You know, when we came about the People's Convention and shot the powers that be in the foot and in the leg and in the arm, the powers, some of the power players, they ducked under the radar. Harold Ford became the chairman of the leadership something, it was all preachers, all the ministers.
I remember.
He punched them up right quick, and they became a backer of him. You know, and always want to be a power player in the politics of Memphis. He stayed back and allowed the People's Convention to take place. Now, the other meeting was that after the election, you know, all of them began to rally around some kind of people, I mean, not people organization, but leadership conference kind of structure. You know, because they had to be the players. See, because the people who pulled the strings with the politics in Memphis wasn't too pleased about what had transpired. You know, that black people come up with this genius idea to rid themselves of their political burdens that they had suffering on a daily basis forever. Talut El-Amin was one of the brains behind the whole situation. Talut, you know, because I worked with Talut, you know, and I was Talut one of my mentors in a way. What, you know, I've said before, Talut, what he done for Memphis was equal to what Robert Church them done for the charter, because he filed a lawsuit to get this thing into action, you know. And,
I remember.
and a lot of people loaded up on that lawsuit and tried to water it down. They wish they did succeed in watering it down. Well, anyway, after the People's Convention, Harrington went into the mayor's office. Talut became the city council. That was part of that pigback political stuff, you know.
I don't think so.
It might not have been. I don't know.
I don't think it was direct because I know Tyler.
I think he wrote the coattail. I say,
He did that.
Yeah.
Harrington and his administration and all those power people, they just cut out everybody.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anybody who had any or a fraction of influence over the People's Convention was shut out.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
Okay. And now, and I'm gonna say this: those black men and women were brilliant. See, the brilliance of the black man in Memphis, Tennessee, historically, is this. In modern time, Dr. Kareem Talib Muhammad filed the lawsuit and the People's Convention.
Mm-hmm.
Those were two of the most brilliant strokes of geniuses that has ever happened in Memphis, Tennessee. And it's historic.
Sure.
But if you take something as significant as that, and the leaders of the city water it down as if there was nothing, they're doing a disservice to black people in Memphis, Tennessee, and our capacity to execute brain power.
Right.
And that's the ugliest thing that they could possibly have done.
Including the children going to the babies.
Yes.
Including one other thing that happened as well. You could set up. This was before the Arabs came in and did what they were doing on the street corners. The vendors were able to set up with just a degree of simplicity, and it's my understanding that there was a meeting held and that Harrington shot that down. Is that you know anything about that, Brother Jabril?
No, I don't.
But you do notice that all of a sudden you didn't see any vendors on the street set up making money as they had been doing by making some arrangements with some store owner with the UNO permit. You notice you didn't see that. The pilot I know had something to do with it, as I understand it. But you did notice that, and then so what happened was, even today, if you want to set up, they have the code enforcement coming out as part of what you've said. You can't do that here. Mm-hmm. You can't do that here. It requires a $600 permit if it has not gone up, and some other bureaucratic laws and policies.
Well,
that was another thing that happened that I remember that grew out of that administration.
All the laws
that
and
period.
legislation and amendments and whatever else they use in city councils, all that stuff is put together to keep us marginalized.
Yeah.
Keep us from being players into the open arena of economics and politics in this city. You know, East Tennessee have never wanted Memphis to rise to no level, because they have everything that Memphis put into some kind of action, and they have to go to the state. East Tennessee gonna shoot it down.
Okay.
If it's dealing with economics or political power.
Okay. Two questions.
I'm
Go.
going to address the vendors side of the business and a lot of other things. See,
Right.
I was a vendor at one time.
I know.
On the corner selling
That's what.
jeans, too.
Right. This
I've
is
done
what.
that. Selling jeans.
Right. When you said that, and I looked at.
license.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
So
When
now-
you said that, and I looked at you, vendors kicked into my mind because I remember a long conversation we had with you, me, Salim, and Tyler, and you had some brother with you, and you had jeans at Belver and Macklemore on your table, and then Salim and I and a few other brothers, we were set up at 3rd and Brooks.
Yeah.
We're selling
But-
purses, hats, the whole work. But
see, this is the point. This is the difference between Caucasian government and the black government that Mayor Harrington